This is your WCFW Daily News Roundup for 105.7 CFW in Chippewa Falls and 93.5 The Tap in Eau Claire.
For 105.7 CFW News, I'm James Kelly. Chippewa Valley business owners and community leaders are preparing for the 32nd annual Chippewa Valley Rally event this month. Each year, Chambers of Commerce officials from Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, and Menominee organize teams to travel to Madison and meet with state lawmakers. Scott Rogers is the Senior Director of Governmental Affairs for the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce and explained the goal of the annual event.
The Chippewa Valley Rally is a trip to Madison to talk about economic issues with our lawmakers and other policymakers that's been put on now for 32 years by the Chambers of Commerce in Chippewa Falls, Menominee, and Eau Claire. And what we do is we bring about 100 to 120 business and community leaders to Madison, visit with legislative offices, and talk about the economic issues in state government that affect the economy in our area.
Rogers also highlighted some pending legislation that would specifically address issues facing the Chippewa Valley, like healthcare access and a shortage of affordable housing.
One of the unusual things about this year is even though the legislature is getting close to adjournment, there are a lot of bills in a few key areas that are still pending, including several that would help improve housing supply and affordability, some bills that relate to EMS services and making hospital beds available.
The Chippewa Valley Rally will take place on Thursday, February 19th. Local residents interested in attending can register online with a $99 fee until Wednesday or a $110 fee after Wednesday. For an additional $35 fee, they can also take a round-trip charter bus to Madison and back for the one-day event. Residents who decide to stay in Madison can also get a discounted hotel rate if they reserve by February 8th. Democratic state lawmakers are proposing a constitutional amendment to solidify the right to privacy for Wisconsin residents. If adopted, the amendment to the state constitution would shift the legal burden of proof in privacy violation cases from the individual to the government. Under that adjustment, government agencies would be responsible for justifying how it had the authority to violate an individual's privacy rights, rather than the individual being required to prove that a government agency violated the rights. Democratic state lawmakers have also introduced separate legislation that would allow residents to file a lawsuit over privacy violations in state court, regardless of whether the subject of that lawsuit is a state or federal government agency. That proposed bill is currently being reviewed in committee. Democratic state lawmakers are hoping the proposed constitutional amendment will gain bipartisan support. It must pass in both the state assembly and Senate in 2 consecutive sessions before it appears on a statewide ballot for voters to approve. A recent report from the American Lung Association found that Wisconsin lawmakers haven't done enough to reduce tobacco usage in the state. According to organization data, tobacco use kills nearly 8,000 Wisconsinites each year, making it the leading cause of preventable death and disease both in the state and across the country. High school students in Wisconsin also use tobacco at a higher rate than the national average. The American Lung Association releases a review on tobacco control each year, in which Wisconsin typically receives mostly failing grades. The review awards letter grades to states based on 5 categories. Wisconsin received F grades in tobacco prevention and cessation funding, access to cessation services, and flavored tobacco products, as well as a D grade for tobacco taxes. The state did receive a B grade in the final category, ensuring smoke-free air. The American Lung Association is calling on state lawmakers to raise Wisconsin's legal age of sale for tobacco products to 21, protect the statewide smoke-free air law, and create tax parity between cigarettes and e-cigarettes. Colfax Public Library officials say an anonymous donation has gotten them significantly closer to their fundraising goal for a new elevator. The anonymous donor agreed to match up to $40,000 of fundraising over the last year, during which time the library exceeded that goal and raised about $43,000. The library is hoping to raise a total of $300,000 for the elevator and apply for a community development block grant to cover the remaining cost. So far, they've raised a little less than $250,000. The Chippewa County Board has approved the creation of a new committee aimed at improving emergency medical services in the area. EMS services have been under incredible strain since the closure of HSHS St. Joseph's Hospital nearly 2 years ago, with the next nearest hospital 20 minutes away in Eau Claire. The additional travel time has led to longer response times for ambulances, as well as more wear and tear on equipment. The new committee met for the first time on Thursday and plans to provide the full county board with a report and their recommendations in August. Eau Claire Police Department officials say they responded to a swatting incident at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire campus over the weekend. According to law enforcement authorities, the fraudulent emergency call came in at around 10:30 p.m. on Sunday. They responded to Governor's Hall, secured the area, and spoke with the students who had been the victims of the swatting call. Authorities determined that nobody had been hurt and there was no active threat at the campus, but will continue to investigate the incident. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is once again asking the public to help with an ongoing study on the black bear population. The Black Bear Litter and Diet Survey seeks to track the reproduction and overall population of black bears in the state to help inform future policy decisions. Residents can help by reporting any black bear dens they see while out and about to the DNR, especially during this time of year when cubs are being born. If you see a den, you should keep a safe distance, mark your coordinates, and take a picture if possible. For 105.7 CFW News, I'm James Kelly.
For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. If you noticed a jump in price at your local gas station this week, you're not alone. Melissa Kay reports.
Average gas prices rose 4.8 cents over the last week, landing at an average of $2.54 on Monday. This is 10.2 cents per gallon higher than a month ago and more than 37 cents lower than this time last year. Officials at Gas Buddy say seasonal trends will now begin as the West Coast starts to transition to summer gasoline. Those pressures are expected to gradually push eastward in the weeks ahead, potentially driving the national average back above the $3 per gallon mark. Gas Buddy officials say average prices could linger at that level for at least part of the spring. I'm Melissa Kay.
Wisconsin lawmakers haven't done enough to reduce tobacco usage in the state. That's according to the American Lung Association. Its data says tobacco use kills nearly 8,000 Wisconsinites every year, making it the leading cause of preventable death and disease both in the state and across the country. The American Lung Association releases a review on tobacco control each year, in which Wisconsin typically receives mostly failing grades. The review awards letter grades to states based on 5 categories. Wisconsin received F grades in tobacco prevention and cessation funding, access to cessation services, and flavored tobacco products, as well as a D grade for tobacco taxes. Now, the state did receive a B grade in a final category, ensuring smoke-free air. The American Lung Association is calling on state lawmakers to raise Wisconsin's legal age of sale for tobacco products to 21, protect the statewide smoke-free air law, and create tax parity between cigarettes and e-cigarettes. Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin is co-sponsoring legislation to redirect billions of dollars earmarked for immigration and customs enforcement in President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill to local law enforcement agencies. Here's Civic Media's James Kelly with the story.
According to a press release, the Public Safety Act would redirect nearly $75 billion in funding to help hire and train around 200,000 local police officers around the country. The legislation was originally proposed by Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto from New Mexico. Of that nearly $75 billion, $45 billion would be reallocated to the Burn JAG program to fund support training, crime victim assistance programs, and crime prevention. Nearly $30 billion would be reallocated to the COPS hiring program. In the press release, Senator Baldwin says it's clear that President Donald Trump's ICE is out of control and the influx of masked, armed, and untrained agents is making communities less safe. She says ICE doesn't need a blank check and the funding should be used to double down on investing in local police to ensure safety. I'm James Kelly.
A new survey shows Wisconsin employers don't think students are prepared for the workforce. The survey from the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce finds that over half of responding employers say Wisconsin's K-12 education system does not adequately prepare students for the workforce. Survey data shows 64% of employers indicated their employees struggle with reading, math, or both. 30% of respondents say they have to resort to remedial education or tutoring for employees. According to the survey, only 10% of Wisconsin employers rate the quality of their local school district as excellent. The city of Green Bay is facing backlash after it cited a nonprofit for housing the homeless. Civic Media's Connie Fellman has that story.
Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary got a citation for offering shelter to the homeless during the recent dangerously cold weather. In a Facebook post offering additional context and clarification, city leaders say it's important to emphasize the city's actions are not intended to discourage compassion or community-based efforts to help people in crisis. The city says it received formal complaints about activities at the property, and city inspectors are required to apply zoning, building and fire safety, and public health regulations. Comments responding to the city's post question the safety of unhoused people sleeping outside in the extreme cold. The city said they'll be reaching out to Safe Haven to work together for a long-term solution. I'm Connie Fellman.
The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is encouraging Wisconsinites to learn about flood risks across the state and available flood insurance options. Isabella Nieto has more.
Because flooding has historically been the state's most common natural hazard, homeowners should prepare for the spring season and look into flood insurance. Most national flood insurance program policies include a standard 30-day waiting period before coverage begins. You can contact your local zoning administrator or search their address on FEMA's MAP Service Center to learn about flood risk in your area. Additional resources on flood insurance and flood risk mitigation are available on the Wisconsin Office of the Commissioner of Insurance's Flood Insurance and Disasters webpages. I'm Isabella Nieto.
According to the Wisconsin Initiative on Climate Change Impacts 2021 assessment report, the past decade has been the wettest on record. For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. For news anytime, civicmedia.us.
The Badgers in Illinois tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Men's college basketball. The Wisconsin Badgers in Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini at Assembly Hall, now called State Farm Center. The Badgers coming off that loss at Indiana on Saturday. Illinois has dropped from 5th to 8th ranked in the nation after losing to Michigan State. NBA, the Bucks losing last night in Orlando, 118-99 to the Magic. Those two teams face off again 6 p.m. tomorrow night in Florida. Baseball, Brewers manager Matt Arnold met with reporters about acquiring two left-handed pitchers, but trading away third baseman Caleb Durbin to the Boston Red Sox in the deal.
You know, we really like the defense on our infield, but you also start looking at the future here with guys like Jesus Made and, Cooper Pratt and Luke Adams. And we feel like we have the ingredients now to weather the loss of somebody like Caleb Durbin, who obviously meant a lot to our franchise. But we feel really good about the infield depth.
That's the Brewers general manager, Matt Arnold. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm meteorologist Rodney Price. Plenty of clouds lasting through the afternoon and gusty northwest winds. High temperatures in the lower 30s. Overnight skies will thin out a bit. Skies turning partly cloudy. Lows in the mid and upper teens. On Wednesday, sunshine and lower 30s. It's 33 at our studios.
That's your WCFW and the TAP Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at WCFW.FM or thetap.fm.